brothers, to another episode of the Men's Sexual Mastery Podcast. This is Ben Timby tuning in from Austin, Texas.
Hey, this is Ian Hawks tuning in from Kelowna, BC, Canada.
We've had the podcast offline for a number of months while Hawks and I have been busy working away, creating the new course, which we just finished our first cohort of with 3 different groups of men a couple months ago, and we're just into our second launch, which now is a 6-month training. It's an honor to be here with you, brother, and stoked to have you on the podcast in this next launch.
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor to be here and to witness just how ready the world is and just how ready the brothers are that are entering this program and joining us.
Yeah, let's dive into today's topic, which is updating our sexual software, which is what's at the core of all of this work. You know, most of us have inherited unconscious sexual programming, whether this was from school, from, our families, from religion. And this work we're doing is bringing a new software update, a new evolution of how we show up as men, both in the bedroom and out in the world, which, as we talk about all the time, are very connected. So with that, I'd love to pass it over to you, Hawks, and just kick us off in sharing a little bit about how you see this absent father archetype show up in the work.
The absent father archetype is something that is, for many of us, at the root of this longing for role models, this longing for connection and brotherhood. And one way to start off addressing the absent father archetype is to speak quite clearly to what does that mean? How does it show up? And I see a few different aspects of this. There's the physical absent father, someone who quite literally wasn't there. And this could be from an early death or a divorce in the family and a fractured family unit, or an abandonment, a father who wasn't ready to be a father. And then there's an emotionally absent father, which I think is also very common. It's a dad who's there physically, but emotionally he's unavailable. And there's not the opportunity for real affection and validation, which we need as children growing up in order to be really secure in ourselves. And then there's the energetic absence that could show up as a father who hasn't integrated his own masculinity. And this is a big part of the work that we're doing, is integrating these parts of ourselves.
Yeah, bro. Well said. I love that you named all those different ways that the absent father has presented itself in all those different levels and physical form, emotional ways, energetic ways. And, what comes up for me is really, where are we actually being that in our lives? And that's really where the rubber meets the road in a lot of this training. Like, what we're covering is some of the foundations of reclaiming your throne, we say, reclaiming the kingdom, not being that absent father who's out on an endless quest. There's also this like Peter Pan archetype where there's just men constantly seeking, whether it's a new adventure, it's a new woman, or it's more money, or like anything outside of the present moment, anything outside of what is. It's us escaping the moment. And that's the pattern. If we really were to like distill it into how does this show up moment by moment, if we look at things like porn addiction, for instance, why are we going to porn? It's to check out, it's to numb, it's to become absent because it's too hard to be here now. But when we talk about this in the terms of our personal development and how it shows up in the small, subtle ways, let's say within partnership, which like a feminine partner will be the ultimate mirror, of like us facing our own inner demons. She'll pick up on everything. And when we just check out of the relationship, which is what often happens, we're going to porn to just offload our energy because it's too hard to actually confront the reality that there's no intimacy in my partnership right now because I've been an absent father.
Or there isn't a partnership at all. And there's a deep longing for connection. There's a deep longing for a sense of intimacy, for a sense of connection. And perhaps there's deep resistance or a lack of skill in acquiring a partner who can actually serve to fill that void in a really holistic, sustainable, enriching way. And so there's this reaching of porn I see a lot showing up for many men in, actually, I don't have a partnership, but there's this deep desire within me to feel that connection and that level of intimacy. And we can string this back to the absent father archetype as well. It could be the father who was absent for his wife, for his partner, for the mother of his children,
Yeah.
not being there emotionally, energetically, or physically in a way that created a role model for children to really understand what it looks like and how to be in a good way in an intimate relationship. And so if we haven't learned how to do that, then of course it could be incredibly difficult to actually create that in our own lives. And so what do we do?
100%.
Where do we find that? Where do we find that guidance and receive the support that's really important for us to understand how to draw to us a partner that we can then also show up in a deep sense of connection with?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And so many of these programs are running unconsciously, just like you spoke to. It's like when we didn't have these role models, which to varying capacities, each and every one of us, inherited what we did from our fathers. There's no shame or guilt, to be clear, around what's been passed down, but it is this pattern, this program can be running beneath the surface in ways that are sabotaging our relationships, which is what you're speaking to, whether we are in relationship or we're not. So
yeah, I appreciate you speaking to that. No shade on the fathers, on the absent fathers.
We've all been that too. I know I've been that.
For sure, we're all repeating patterns that we've learned, and until we're resourced enough to have the tools and the level of consciousness and awareness to rewrite those patterns, they will continue to repeat. And I have deep compassion for the fathers and forefathers out there who were doing the best they could, and it's up to us to recognize where there's awareness and where there's now a new level of consciousness and a new access to tools and support, where it's okay, the pattern doesn't need to continue repeating, because actually we are so resourced in this day and age. And there are so many ways and places that we can go to receive the role model, to receive the support that we may not have had. And so I love, I want to actually just shout out the men in our programs. We have 21 phenomenal men showing up in our cohorts right now. And one of the themes I see across the board is these men are acknowledging the awareness that they have of where they're not showing up fully. There's a level of awareness of where they may have received some of these patterns, but it's not from the victimhood of I am this way because I didn't have the access to the support that I wanted or would have been important for me growing up, but actually I'm here to rewrite these patterns. And it's bringing all of that awareness and being willing to step forward and say, this ends here.
Yeah. Replacing the absent father archetype with the present father, with the king who has reclaimed his throne. Coming back into full presence is ultimately what this is all about, which sounds so simple, and yet it is so deep, all the ways that we often will escape the present moment. And when we talk about bringing it into the bedroom, this is really where we say how we show up in the world is how we show up in the bedroom. When we have that muscle, if you want to call it a muscle, that skill developed of being able to breathe, to stay in our body, to stay focused, to not distract ourselves or try to numb out or try to escape the intensity of true intimacy, that's when we really become available actually to those deeper levels of intimacy with other, and especially when we talk about a romantic partner, that is what's at the core of all of this work. It's tuning into the subtle, slowing down, becoming more present and more present and more present and more present, merging meditation and all these other practices into this state that we like to call just the higher self, which is like where I'm not in the future, I'm not in the past, I'm not in any state of dis-ease. I'm in my center. I'm in the eye of the hurricane. I'm able to find that space and lead myself. And by doing so, I am leading my partner, and she is trusting me, and she is being drawn into that masculine king energy. And the children are looking up to that, and my friends and my business partners, and everyone just feels this version of me that's like fully here and like fully aligned.
Yeah. Yeah. As we witnessed a brother on one of our calls last night having the experience of that, just being in a department store and feeling like, holy, I'm fully here. And the world is reflecting that to me. And this is a different experience. And I love what you said, Ben, about the importance of the breath and how that can bring us into our body, especially when we're in that intimate experience. And something that's come up many times is the prevalence of shame, the prevalence of a lack of confidence in the bedroom, and how that can bring a man out of his body and into his head. If there's a fear of, I'm not going to last long enough, and actually just to rewind a little bit, another theme of so many of the men, maybe all of the men in our program, is the desire to show up in the best way they can in the bedroom and in life, and particularly in the bedroom for their romantic partners. And what's one of the big things in the way of that is getting stuck in our head. And what brings so many men out of their body into the head during lovemaking is the fear of, am I showing up in the best way I can for my partner? Is she experiencing pleasure? Is she going to have this wonderful experience that I desire for her to have? And, one of the ways that might show up is a concern of not lasting long enough, and then it's like, oh, don't come. And this just like story in the head of like, oh shit, like the last 3 times we had sex, I came way earlier than I wanted to. And now this pattern's going to repeat. And boom, all of a sudden that man is checked out. He's checked out from his partner. He's checked out from his own experience. And he's just in this loop in his head of, how do I not do this thing? And to bring it back to a little bit of the skill development that, there's the skill of, if we want to call it that, of being present, how to actually really be present. And then there's also skills that we can develop that allow us to come out of the head and into the body, to have that confidence that allows us to really be present and not in the fear or in the anxiety. And the tools that we have to allow men to work with themselves, to develop the awareness, the level of awareness of arousal in their body, the tools to mitigate, to manage, to circulate that energy, to then be able to know in their own lived experience, like, oh, I got this. The next time I'm making love with my partner, I know what to do. And it actually, all those tools are about and designed to like drop us back into the body, but to do so in a skillful, informed, educated way that allow us to then circulate that energy, last as long as we want, and be fully present. And I think there's, just so many different angles that we can come at this from, but what it all comes back to is the ability to be present, to not be absent from our partner, from our children, from our lives, from ourselves.
Yeah, and I'm imagining for anyone listening in, who is new to this work, if we were to talk about some of these tools and just getting started and how to get out of the loops of the mind, how to catch ourselves when we're being pulled out of the moment, when our awareness is drifting away from being fully here, fully now, and making love with life itself, as we say, which then that skill applies directly to our partner. It's just this honed attention. But with the breath and with these other tools, would you like to offer up just a real basic practice that you could give guys that they could actually take away from this podcast?
Let's see. The first one that pops up specifically when engaging romantically with a partner is often a really difficult one, but it's eye contact. eye contact can be confronting, can be uncomfortable for many people who haven't yet developed the comfortability with that, or the comfortability with themselves to be really seen, because it's a two-way street. It's looking out and also allowing in. It's not staring, it's gazing, like through a window that is seeing the light that's coming in, and it's also allowing what's inside to be seen. And so that's one tool that if it's not a regular practice for any man in a romantic relationship, just see, could I bring my eyes to meet her eyes again and again and again? And if it's just for a couple seconds or a few seconds at the first time, and okay, we'll bring it back. And now can I be there a little longer? Can I soften the gaze a little more? And that's a potent tool when we have that unlocked, to come into presence, because immediately, in my experience with eye gazing, it's like whatever else is going on in the world, it drops away, and it's like, oh, it's one soul meeting another soul. And that's a potent way to drop into consciousness and presence.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to add into that, pairing this with a basic practice we use, the foundations of our entire training. We start with this thing called the smiling king breath, which many of you have heard if you've been following our work, or some of our testimonials, or guys talking about the smiling king. This is just our own little recipe of tools, psychosomatic tools, we say, to drop you into presence, to drop you into the driver's seat, to take the throne of your kingdom, to step out of the absent father archetype in any moment and just step right into the center. So I'll invite that real quick. If you'd like to follow along in this practice, I'll invite anyone listening to just take a minute. If you're driving a car or operating heavy machinery, do not follow this. Follow this at your own discernment and discretion. But if you're seated down, just take a moment to close your eyes and begin breathing into your lower belly. If you want to place your hands just below your belly button, one over the other, inhale and just relax that belly and allow it to fill up with air. On the exhale, you can sigh a little bit. Notice, make an audible sigh. Notice what that does. Come into deep circular belly breathing. Big inhale. Sighing on that exhale. Continuing with that deep circular belly breathing at your own pace. Big breaths, expanding that belly in a relaxed way. Sighing. Invitation, we say this is like playing a game. Just in your own way, stay focused. Keeping that deep circular belly breathing. Don't stop. Imagine this is like juggling. You're juggling one ball right now. If you can just stay focused on breathing into your lower belly, notice any subtle sensations as you continue doing this. This is the first step, always coming back to the breath. Deep circular belly breathing. And set aside any of the future, the past, any to-do lists. Just be here now. With your next breath, as you continue this circular belly breathing, I'm going to invite you to imagine there's a golden string tied to the top of your head. And as you inhale that string, imagine that string pulling up on your head. Roll your shoulders back, nice proud chest, tuck your chin down towards your collarbone. Exhale with a sigh. See if you can relax into this posture. This is our kingly posture. This is a bit of a practice at first. Inhaling again, staying in the breath. See if you can hold these opposites, holding this form. King breath. While relaxing into the form. Let your shoulders soften even while your chest stays proud and your spine lengthened, chin tucked. Continuing to stay in the breath. Okay, we're just stacking practices here. Just notice what this feels like with your spine fully open. A nice proud posture. This is really important for us to step into presence. The breath, the posture. On the next inhale, we're going to stack now. We're going to invite a smile, just a gentle smile to your face. We say if there's any part of you that doesn't want to smile, we invite you to smile at that, because why the fuck not? And just notice any shift with bringing that smile. Big inhale into that. Notice if you're leaning forward or back, if your spine, if you can find that sweet spot. where your spine is perfectly balanced like a pencil on its tip. Just relaxing, shedding tension, sinking into your seat, smiling. Now we're going to turn off. Imagine your smile is on a light switch. Turn off your smile. Let everything else stay the same. Deep circular belly breathing. Now flip it on. Flip it off. Back to a stern face. Back on. Just notice that contrast. Whew. Now just continue to smile. Continue to breathe into that belly. You're doing great. Just juggling the breath, the big king posture, the smile, the sigh. Ooh. And from here, we have the foundations of what's called the smiling king breath. What we're going to do is just inhale, scanning the body from head to toe, breathing into any tension, smiling into any tension in the body or in the mind. Exhaling it out with a sigh, letting yourself sink deeper into your seat. Ooh, letting your shoulders soften, your face, your jaw. You continue breathing into the belly, peeling back the onion one layer at a time. See how much more you can relax. Just let it go. Sink deeper. Let the muscles melt on the bone. Now just come back to the simplicity of the breath. Notice since we began a few minutes ago, maybe 5 minutes ago, what's shifted inside. And keep your eyes closed. What we call this is the eye of the hurricane, the smiling king. This is our home base. This is what we give all the brothers in the beginning of the training program. We build on this foundation. We start to stack more and more and more practices on top of it until eventually this becomes our default state of being. And it just feels so good, doesn't it? To not be the absent father, to be present, to be the king, and not the prince who's off, lost in his seeking. All right, so I'll invite us to slowly come back out. Big old breath, and see if you can hold the feeling, the relaxation, the smiling king, even with your eyes open. Just notice if you can sit in this. Can you feel a shift in the room? Can you feel the quantum field around you adapting and almost echoing back your internal state? This is step one of coming back into our presence. It's all right here, right now. Just breathe. Can you fully be here? Not caught in loops of the past, the future. Not get caught in stories of perceptions of the world around you that are victimhood, that are blaming others or that are judging others. Or can we just let go of all of that and just step into this deep state of internal coherence and peace and love with everything within us and around us? And this is the smiling energy, the breath. The breath in Hebrew is like Yahweh is one interpretation of it. Yah is an in-breath, way is out breath. So this is essentially like us channeling Father God energy. I know for a lot of people that may be a little triggering. It was for me. I came from a religious upbringing. But to me, that's the ultimate embodiment of, that's the opposite of the absent father, is like being that unconditionally loving father, who is there. He's solid. He's not going anywhere. Doesn't matter what comes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would say, even just connecting with that energy that's within us, around us, and available all of the time. And yet also takes some development, some skill, often some guidance to be able to access and connect with that energy in a way that allows us to then bring it into ourselves. As you're saying, you used the word channel. I would just use the word connect with and then embody and live through, and allowing that to actually be the father that's there always. And that's something that we all have equal opportunity and access to. And yeah, this feels like an appropriate place to close it off today. Thank you for that practice, Ben. And thank you to anyone listening in, practicing along. Hope that we've provided some value for you today, and look forward to continuing these conversations, Ben.
Yeah, thank you all for tuning in, and hope you found value in this today, this first step in the reclamation of the kingdom, of masculinity, updating the software, breaking the pattern of the absent father, and stepping into the husband, the father, the brother, the men that we came here to be, the men that we are looking for. We are the ones we've been looking for. This is what I want to leave guys with. We are the heroes of this story. That's why we came into this lifetime. And when we can claim that fully, and step into that more fully, and as Hawk said, it takes time, it takes practice. Isolation is a killer. We get caught in our own loops in isolation. This work has been to be together. We've always done this together as humans in tribes. We are coming into unprecedented times of isolation, actually, even as the world is becoming more connected. And I know, speaking on behalf of my own journey and our journey, Hawks, and the journey of the brotherhoods that we've been a part of, and now the Men's Sexual Mastery Brotherhood, I know I would not be here if it were not for you, for all the brothers who've supported me in my journey and who we're supporting. May this work continue to deepen on behalf of our children's children's children. May the ripples in time and space of us stepping into our higher selves, the men we came here to be, continue to just bless forward all generations. That's why I know you and I are here for that. We're here to guide the men home to themselves so that they can show up and bring in the families, bring in the children to stronger homes, where the men are not absent. The men are fully there and making love in all the different ways with their reality and stepping into that divine father archetype. So, yeah, it's been an honor, brother. Great to drop in with you today.
Yeah. Big love to you. Big love to all the listeners and all the brothers out there.